Dementia and television? Television would be likely to accroit significant FACON risks of demences. The fact that sedentary lifestyle and lack of activity greatly and certainly increases the onset of dementias such as Alzheimer's disease has been firmly established for several decades. All serious recent scientific studies confirm this. Researchers at the Universities of California and Arizona have devised a study to determine if televisions and the computer are likely to have a similar impact. To make 146,000 individuals over the age of 60 answered a questionnaire for an average of 12 years. The questions were simple. They had to specify whether they used little, moderately, or a lot of a television and a computer. And also how often. They also had to indicate their level of physical activity. Dementia is defined by a deterioration in memorization and reasoning skills to perform a certain number of daily tasks. In inveterate followers of the small screen, the risk of dementia increased by 28%. At the same time, among the most fervent users of a computer, this prevalence has instead decreased by 30%. This study suggests that the risk of dementia is not associated with the time spent sitting per se, but with the nature or context of the sedentary activity. So the computer and television don't have the same effect on brain plasticity over the years. I learned a lesson from this. When we advise the public to limit the screen time, we must above all make a distinction, wonder if their use induces active or passive behavior. This reality must finally be imposed in people's minds. Maintaining intellectual activity can drastically reduce the risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. Around the world, 55.2 million people have such a disease. In France there are around 900,000 patients, and this figure should reach an estimate of 2.1 million individuals. To say that the current situation is particularly significant and worrying is an understatement. In addition to the computer, playing music or regularly engaging in stimulating reading phases. Those two activities that protect particularly effectively from the risk of being affected by this pathology. Another practice also has an effect particularly on the brain but also on many other pathologies: physical activity practiced on a regular basis. Its protective effects are such that I would even go so far as to say that it is a real elixir of youth. So practicing physical activity is good for form. It has been a fact known for a long time, but also on the brain is demonstrated by knowledge discovered recently. Thus it is now acquired and demonstrated that physical exercise has a protective effect on neurodegenerative diseases. It induces a flagrant improvement in sleep, state of mind, and cognitive function. Many current researchers are focusing on a correlation between physical activity and neuroprotective effects. There is a growing understanding of the underlying molecular mechanisms that intervene when performing physical activity. There are three mechanisms to improve cognitive function: prevent neural deficiencies, prevent cerebral functional decline related to aging or the occurrence of a disease, and also perhaps improve the effectiveness of existing neurotherapeutic treatments. Neurogenesis in the adult brain occurs through the phenomenon of differentiation of stem cells into neurons. Studies carried out between 1990 and 2000 are at the origin of a real cataclysm in the leafy world of the scientific microcosm. Stupor, the impossible becomes reality. New neurons can develop in the adult brain, mainly in the hippocampus. In adults, this tiny area of the brain decreases in volume with age, but the opposite phenomenon is also observed in subjects practicing regular activity and with sufficient intensity. This paves the way for astounding and hopeful prospects in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases. The brain, this stranger, is still full of mysteries. Intuitively, I assume that quantum phenomena are certainly at work during certain psychic processes. Major religions should build scientific laboratories for the study of these phenomena, those related to artificial life and artificial intelligence. The role they will have in society in the coming years depends on it. Societies that reject new knowledge in a categorical and dogmatic way. They are exposed to a drastic reduction in their ability to have a useful and meaningful influence on their times. Historical events have shown that the categorical rejection of spiritual phenomena is just as sterile and reduces reality in a caricatured way. How does physical activity boost our brains? Neurogenesis in the adult brain concerns the phenomenon of differentiation of stem cells into neurons. Confirmation of the possibility in an adult to develop new functional neurons is a culmination of more than 40 years of experimentation and remains a revolution in the field of neuroscience. From 1990 to the early 2000s, researchers' results proved that new neurons could develop in an adult's brain, thus suggesting new perspectives in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases. The process of neurogenesis in adults occurs mainly in the hippocampus.